Let's talk about Bristol this weekend, though. Food City 500 got the odds from DraftKings Sportsbook rolling on the bottom. I want to start here, and I want to get your take on these guys because RFK, I mentioned a huge bounce back at Phoenix.
Yeah.
Top 5 finishes for both guys. I love both of these guys this weekend. They have a lot of momentum. I mean, you look at Chris Buescher to start, top 5 in 3 of the last 5 at Bristol. And again, we're not we're counting, at least I am not counting any dirt stats when it comes to this. It's all concrete, Throw dirt out the window.
Sure.
So on concrete, top 5 in 3 of the last 5 at Bristol. He won here in 2022. Keselowski, 3-time winner. They've both thrived on the high banks of Bristol in recent trips. And Keselowski, again, looking to break this now 102 race winless streak. In looking at this from a betting perspective, I wrote about this. Chris Buescher is a guy I'm not looking to bet at this present moment, only because he's not qualified better than 20th in the last 4 Bristol races. So if you're looking to bet a guy like Chris Buescher, understanding that he has not qualified well, he's a guy I'm willing to wait on to see if the line shifts in our favor a little bit more, because plus 1,100 was a little shorter for my liking to just bet Chris Buescher straight up before practice and qualifying. So I think we might be able to get a little bit of a better price on Buescher if he unloads like crap. So we'll kind of see about that. Keselowski, I'm a little bit more inclined to take at plus 1,200. I mean, seeing what we saw from Phoenix, you have to believe they're going to be able to replicate that speed here at Bristol. And Keselowski, like I said, a 3-time winner, like he knows how to get it done here. I feel like his line's not going to particularly move much. I think Buescher's is more, has that chance to move a little bit. But RFK, I think you're looking at 2 drivers that can absolutely win this weekend. I'm certainly going to be looking at them, and I like both of them this weekend. It's just from a betting perspective, certainly more willing to wait on Buescher than I am Keselowski, just understanding the qualifying stats for the last couple of years in the next gen. But still, love what you got to see out of him at Phoenix, especially after just the disastrous start to the year. So certainly pointing things in the right direction, and I feel like RFK is going to continue to, kind of flex their muscles on these short tracks. And see if they can come away with another win. Hopefully Keselowski this time around. It would be just awesome to see him finally get that win. But Chris Buescher is certainly going to be a threat as well after a runner-up finish at Phoenix.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people to look at. I've always categorized Bristol as its own animal amongst the short tracks, just from listening to drivers and just the overall racing that we see. It's an animal. And when you're there, you really sense it. Like they're just going around almost like a toilet bowl, just vroom, vroom, just around and around and around.
That vortex theory, man, we need it.
Yeah. Yeah, we might need, I don't know if we're going to need it, but I think if there's a track where that would work, I'm sure DW thought about it from Bristol, because it's just, you're on top of it, and once you're in the infield, it's all above you and you're looking up into the track and the grandstands that go up, and it's such a beautiful place. But there's a lot of guys to look at. I mean, you hit on RFK, who that's a team that I'm looking at a lot this year. They woke up last week. Maybe they didn't have the raw pace to finish top 5, second for Buescher, but half of this is getting that track position and having the right strategy. And we saw Truex didn't have it. Denny made a very critical error late, and he was basically done. And a lot of other guys, they weren't able to get out of that mid-pack kind of tornado, but they did. And going into Bristol could be very well timed, because you mentioned Buescher's win, but back in 2022. But don't forget that Keselowski was dominating that race before his tire went down. He led over 100 laps, and it seemed like he was going to be the guy to win that one, and kind of got taken away. But they're looking really well. Even if you want to go, not really an easy pick. I mean, I saw Kyle Busch there plus 1,200. We mentioned he's an 8-time winner, but He has been on a little tough run of races at Bristol. His last 3 races have been 21st, 34th, and 20th. Definitely not what we would expect from him. Ironically, that's right when we went to dirt in the spring race. So for some reason, that voodoo is kind of dragged over to the fall race when it's on concrete. If you look at before the dirt was introduced, he had 6 top 5s in the 7 races before then, including 3 wins. But it's not really new. It's not new news to see him struggle at Bristol. In the mid 2010s, he had a really bad run of races here. From 2014 to 2017, he really didn't finish top 30. He finished 30th or worse, every single week besides one. Over a 6-race period, 3 years, he couldn't finish top 30. And then he went on that great run after that. So could this be the year that he kind of wakes up and gets that number 9 win and joins that illustrious list? I feel like it can happen. He's coming off a really bad weekend in Phoenix that he wants to forget. This whole start of the year for him has been basically all of 2023 shrunken into 4 races. He nearly won Atlanta. Give him 8 thousandths and he would have won. Daytona kind of is what it is, and then it's just been so hit or miss, every week this year. So I think Bristol can be a place where he can get back up front and stay there. Michael McDowell jumps up to me a little bit. He's plus 6,000.
I'm so glad you mentioned Michael McDowell this week.
Yeah. I mean, the whole team at front row, they've been getting a lot of press this year, and it's well deserved. And he's coming off, another really good run at Phoenix. But even all the great moments he had last year, he said in an interview that Bristol last year was basically his best race, his best performance, even more than the Indy Road Course that he annihilated and won, because short tracks have been tough for that organization throughout their entire history. And he finished 6th straight up in the August race last year, or the fall race last year. And he had a top 5 car most of that night. And for him to bring it home in a position like that meant a lot to him. And coming back to this race, the team has only improved these last few months, the last few months of last year. And then with the Penske Tier 1 status for this year, it's been noticeable. Vegas was tough, but outside of that, they've been bringing it. And Todd Gilliland finally got a decent run last week. He led those laps that Toyota didn't, but he got a top 20. And McDowell, it could be well timed to go into Bristol. And then you just look at a lot of the regulars, the Lawsons, Byron, Hamlin. They lead the average finish over these last 3 concrete races. 2 of them have won, Hamlin and Byron. I think Byron was somewhere in the middle in terms of odds, right? He wasn't one of the top guys. So
yeah, Byron's interesting because I've been back and forth on him this weekend. He's 1100. He's 11-1 plus 1100.
Okay.
I don't know how much of an overreaction there is going to be coming out of Phoenix with just how out to lunch Chevrolet was the entire race. Again, it's a different package running in Bristol. It's the intermediate package, but it's still a short track. I don't want to overlook Byron. Kyle Larson at plus 50, way too short to pay. Not a driver I'm looking to bet. And honestly, like all 3 of those guys, Larson at plus 450, Hamlin at plus 500, Bell at plus 550, and then Byron at 11-1. Like, because you have these top 3 drivers that are priced short, it's just presenting so much more value for a lot of these other drivers, whereas like a Byron really could probably be like a plus 700, plus 800 driver, knowing just how good of a driver he is on a week-to-week basis. Even for a guy like Ryan Blaney, to see him at plus 1100, where he's typically in that plus 600 to plus 800 range when it's all going right for him. So it's given us opportunity. I mean, Byron, I just don't want to overlook. I know he finished 9th last year, and then he's got a pair of top 3 prior to that. So he can get it done. It's just, how much of an overreaction is there going to be from what Chevrolet brought to Phoenix? And is that really going to translate over to Bristol? I think that's just the one thing that concerns me, because I do think that there needs to be something taken into account there. But 11-1 for Byron is certainly something that I wouldn't overlook, and you expect that he's gonna be a top 10 car, a top 5 car. It's just the statement that Toyota made and what they could do going into Bristol this weekend, is certainly on a lot of people's minds. And I think that it's going to be on display once again. I mean, I think Toyota is going to be the team to beat this weekend once again, which leads me to then talk about a guy that I feel like we have really yet to talk about, but Tyrone Gibbs. Bro, Ty Gibbs, there's probably no driver more dialed in to start the season than Ty Gibbs has been. And he's knocking on the door of that first career Cup Series win. I mean, he's got 3 straight top 10 finishes entering the weekend. He has the best average finish in the entire series through 4 races. He was awesome at Phoenix last week, and he finished 5th at Bristol in the fall of last year. Had a running position of 4.4. If he qualifies well, I mean, he's going to be a legit contender. 13-1, again, plus 1,300. A little short, I think, at this point in time. I don't know how much midweek action Ty Gibbs is going to get that really hammers this number shorter. So it's probably around the plus 1,300. Maybe you get something at like a plus 1,500 if it moves at all in our favor. But Ty Gibbs deserves to be looked at, and he deserves to be in the conversation as a legit contender for win weekend.